Hi, folks, and welcome to another episode of the Psychic Roundtable. I appreciate y'all for tuning in, and it looks like we're going to have a little bit of a short crew this time. A lot of people are out sick, including AngelLynn and Eden. Kitty did say she would be late. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to cover the topic. It's toxic positivity and toxic spirituality, and then open lines. And I am going to pull on Earl Williams. Hey, Earl. How you doing?
I'm doing okay.
Oh, so I don't know how many people we're going to have here today, but go ahead and introduce yourself to our lovely, lovely viewers, even though, you're a bit of a regular.
Most everybody knows me by now, but I'm Earl Williams, Waterloo, Iowa, with Pagan Artist Spotlight podcast, where I have been working pagan media for several years now. So it's, I cover pretty much a lot of things happening in the pagan community, including, trying to assist with tarot readings and other stuff.
All right. Everything's going a little slow for me on my end. We did have to restart the computer, so aha! And Sheena. Hey, girlie! How you doing?
Hey, Sheena, hon.
How are you guys?
I'm warm. How about you? Well, it's good to see you back on. And how are you doing, Sheena? I saw you've been having a little bit of stuff going on.
Yeah, so one of my medications caused like an anemia side effect, so I had to get some procedures done for that. But I'm feeling good.
Okay. Awesome. Well, if there's anything you need us to do, mostly from my end, it's going to be sending healing vibes, but that's about it. But if you need help, let us know, man.
No problem.
And the subject for tonight is toxic positivity and toxic spirituality. And the reason why I put this up, I recently ran into it. I was at the shop and I was talking with an old client, and I realized that it's still a very big issue in the New Age and metaphysical communities.
Yep, especially with the article that was just released on Christian Day. Again.
Catch me up to speed, Beb. And let the audience know who Christian Day is before we start in.
Yeah, well, Christian Day has been in basically the head person leading up Hexfest down in New Orleans. And there's been a lot of controversy surrounding him and his tactics. And basically the latest that's come out is that there are a lot of allegations of abuse against him. So that in fact, I just seen that the other day. And I actually talked with the person who, I had a short conversation with her, the person who brought it up. And she said that, there's now a bunch of allegations of abuse that have been levied against him.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Now, was he on the spiritual side, or what was he doing?
Spiritual side primarily.
That's crazy, but you have both sides of the coin. I would guess.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Both sides of the coin, but there are some spiritual leaders who use their position as an excuse.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I will tell you, it's timed really well. We're coming up on a Pluto retrograde, Sheena. You know what that means? Abuses of power coming to light.
Yep.
And lots of shadow work. Oh.
And he's not the first one either.
No.
There's been several leaders who have been caught, especially trying to abuse the left-hand path.
Don't even get me started on that crap. That's just dumb.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously. Oh, by the way, Eden and AngelLynn send their apologies. Eden is really sick with a nasty head cold, and AngelLynn is having a real bad pain flare day, so she's not going to be able to be on. She's just like, I'm sorry, I want to. I'm like, go rest. And then I sent her the Care Bear stare meme that I always do when people are feeling sick.
That is cute.
It's my impression of sending good vibes. All right. Our other couple, I'm not sure what's going on, but I do know that they weren't feeling so great either. I don't know what's going on, but this week a lot of people are getting sick.
Must be like the rounds. Hopefully it's the final rounds.
It's never the final round, but hopefully we get a break soon. Oh my God.
Or with summer coming up. It's like this is gonna be the good time till through May.
Yeah. Now, have you guys was there a time in your life when you were into the toxic positivity, toxic spirituality, or have you had experiences with it? If so, how have you handled it? How do you handle it? What is your comeback? How do you stop yourself from gaslighting yourself into toxic positivity or spirituality?
I actually made a video about this. I can't remember if it was a year ago or 2 years ago. When I first started, being more open with my spirituality, but I think toxic positivity, I can't speak, it serves its purpose in the beginning. Especially if the individuals who are coming from like a really struggle with, mental health. I think in the beginning, the toxic positivity kind of get you on that path of like overcoming that first, roadblock of depression. And then I think eventually you start to ground yourself. Like you have to be kind of, for me personally, I had to be over positive at that point to ground myself to a level of, to a more grounded site of positivity.
Actually, you know what? That is an interesting perspective, Sheena. I had never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
You have to use the toxic positivity to get you where you need to be. I like that. That's actually a very positive spin on it. Now, what about toxic spirituality, where like you just see, for me, the way I look at it, it's like sometimes, yes, everything's a lesson. Yes, there is a silver lining to almost everything. And, my dad raised me that way, so I had a really good base, but sometimes when shitty stuff is happening to you, it just sucks.
Yep.
And, you kind of, either for yourself or for someone else that's going through it. Now, I'm not talking about the unnecessary drama. I'm not talking about that, because some drama is really unnecessary, but some is actually necessary for somebody to process and work through what they're going through, But it's basically holding safe space either for yourself or for someone else to actually speak and work it through. Instead of going right over and going, oh, everything will be okay, let me give you a hug. Okay. And then shutting that person down, because that actually stems from your own discomfort and attempt to control the situation.
Yeah, I have really big feelings on toxic spirituality, especially when it comes to leaders or becoming leaders, because you have to have a grounding sense. Life is life at the end of the day. We're human.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. And our spirituality is supposed to help us navigate storm, not pretend like the storm isn't occurring in hopes that it just disappears. So you have to look at it in that light. And especially with leaders, you can't preach, over toxic or over positive spirituality, because life is going to get you. And then that's just going to detour, people on the spiritual path, because when you're telling them that everything's going to work out and it doesn't, because then they start to doubt, spirituality.
I mean, everything does eventually work out. It's just not always for your best thing. I mean, it's always for your highest good, but it's not always happy working out,
Mm-hmm.
And that's the point. The pain is, healing comes with pain, and you just have to accept that at the end of the day.
And that was another thing I kind of wanted to cover. I was hoping AngelLynn would be on, because she's a real good one for this. But like I said, she's having a rough day. The other really good one is Antoinette, but she's having such a rough week. We all need to send her healing vibes. But no, it's just all spiritual growth, all spiritual awakening happens when you actually sit with that pain, whether it's regret, anything. When you sit with it and you start to analyze it and become self-aware of it, it's the same thing when people are like, oh my gosh, I'm protecting my peace. Protecting your peace is absolutely awesome. I'm a big proponent of that. But when you're using it to dodge responsibility and accountability, you're not protecting your peace.
Exactly.
If you mess up, you actually have to make amends. Now, you got to sit with it and figure out the root cause of why you did it first, but you have to try your best to make amends. You can't just be like, no, I'm protecting my peace. It's like, no, you're dodging accountability,
And you can be protecting your peace all you want. Doesn't mean that your peace is going to stay undisturbed. So,
peace never stays undisturbed. But I know a couple of people have asked me why I just, I'll quit talking to people, or I'll just kind of just shut that door. And it's like, no, it's nothing personal. It's just, I know that I don't have the patience to deal with that, with everything else going on in my life. And I'm sure they're a great person, and they just had a moment, but I know it's going to happen again. And I don't want their actions to put me in a bad place,
Exactly.
But, and so I just kind of, what? I wish you well, but we part ways now,
Yeah.
And I just keep going. And I've actually had a couple people come back to me and say, well, why didn't you let me explain? And I'm like, there was nothing to explain.
So
we're just not
move along.
We are not in a space where we can actually be around each other. If I had oodles of time and all the patience in the world and didn't have a kid and everything, then maybe I might take a little bit more time. But for right now, I have a kid, and I have a double Gemini husband, and I have a Virgo mom with a Scorpio rising. My patience is at a -0 every day, but about the first hour when I wake up, okay. But, and it's just, I was just in this interaction. My old client, they really grated on me, and I was just like, okay, I don't know why this is grating on me so much. But then I sat down, I wrote a 2-page article, and I picked out the topic because I realized that kind of, remember, you have to be happy all the time. Remember, everything's a lesson. Remember, okay, but you have to show the empathy. You actually have to show the empathy and sometimes just sit with somebody. Now, it's okay to say, or at least in my view, it's okay to say, look, man, I am not healed enough to sit with you and hold safe space for you. I'm just not. I'm sorry.
You have to. I make it a big point when I would need a venting session with somebody. I always make it a point to, ask that individual, do you have the emotional capacity to hold space for me right now?
Right. That's great.
Emotionally dump, everything you got on somebody who might be going through a lot. So yeah, I completely understand that.
Okay, and of course, Sheena, I'm going to ask this. You know where this is going. Would you mind writing a short article about your experiences with that toxic positivity and the positive lining to that?
Yep. Yeah.
Because I would love to have your perspective on that. I think that's absolutely awesome. And what you just said about, hey, do you have, do you got the bandwidth to hear me out,
Yeah.
And I will tell you, I am one of the worst people to hold safe space for somebody because I like to be on the go. I like to be always fucking moving. I'm just like, go, 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 go. But at the same time, when it's your kid or your mom or your husband or your dad or something like that, or a really, really, really close friend, you don't really have the option to say, can't do this. So,
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing I wanted to address a little bit was, and I didn't even realize it was still a thing, but I think I should have. I think I should have. It should have clicked a little bit better, but simply because of all the people still walking into the shop with their problems, and when they go to talk to me, how they act. I'm sure you guys have run into it. If you've had a bad supernatural experience, you're a bad person. That's why. You should be ashamed of talking about it. Don't talk about anything bad. And also, ew, don't come near me. You might be contagious. And, oh my God, there's nothing bad. There's nothing bad. There's only love and light. It's kind of like blinding yourself when a predator's there. It only makes the predator happy. So have you guys had any experience with this? How do you deal with it? Were you ever that way? And, what are your thoughts? And I will start out by saying I did not want to dive into the darker end of the supernatural area. I was very happy with astrology and herbs and stuff like that and crystals. But I had an experience that came to my door that opened my eyes. Mm-hmm. So just starting off saying, hey, I get it. But what are you guys' thoughts?
I've always done my best to try to avoid the toxicity of certain people in the spiritual community. I've literally had to part ways with people because of it. Mm-hmm. Which to me, I don't feel is a bad thing on my end, because of the fact that I'm doing it to protect myself.
Right.
And plus, I'm also doing it to protect the people around me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because it's necessary in order to do that.
Absolutely.
Now, some people have held that against me for parting ways. And I'm like, well, something, I call things as I see it.
Right.
And when I see someone who's very toxic and doesn't have a good personality and doesn't treat people right,
mm-hmm.
I'm done with you.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I agree 100%.
Well,
that's just the way it is. Hello, Katie.
Hi, Katie. Hi, girlie. How you doing? What kind of shirt are you wearing today? It looks cool.
It's the Archangel Michael symbol.
I like it. Neato.
I'm really tired. I don't know how long I'm going to make it. I've done jiu-jitsu, MMA, and Muay Thai all in the last 2 days.
Okay, I'm just going to close my camera down here.
Girl,
there we go.
The girl who choked me last night, I barely felt it, but today I'm like, my jaw hurts. Everything, just on fire.
So many things, so little time, Katie. All right, so Katie is out here living her best life, being wild, being crazy. All righty. I guarantee you have had a more eventful last 2 days than anybody else. I don't know. Earl, been choked by any girls lately?
No.
Okay.
We could change that.
Oh, hello. Okay.
Oh, thanks.
Oh my God, Dennis.
Oh, thanks.
Jeez, maybe leave a little to the imagination. Oh, geez.
Why would I want to do that?
Oh my. Okay. So, Katie, the subject for tonight is toxic positivity, toxic spirituality.
Okay.
What are your experiences with it? Because I know you've run it. I know you've run into it. And have you ever done it to yourself? where you instead of actually holding a safe space for yourself, you've just basically gaslit yourself into dismissing everything you're feeling.
Yes.
Using that be positive or everything's a lesson. And I mean, yes, we should stay positive, look for the silver lining. And yes, everything is a lesson. But, sometimes stuff sucks and sucky stuff happens.
Very true. Acknowledging when it sucks is important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what are your experiences with it? How do you feel about it? How do you keep yourself from going there again? And when somebody tries to do it to you, how do you respond?
These are all really good questions.
Oh, also real quick, Jen was going to be with us of Pink Poppy Apothecary, but she is on the road to the ER with her mom. Her mom's having trouble breathing. So let's all send some love and light there. And hold on, Dennis. I'm so sweet. I'll give you cavities. Oh, so is Alicia. Vacuums really suck. Okay, well then.
I'm not touching that. Nope.
Somebody jokes. Still a little time. Keep going.
Well, as far as myself, I know I can wallow in things a little longer than I probably should.
I think that's fair for anybody.
And that would be the time when I would probably gaslight myself the most.
Okay.
I'm already in that really low space, so it's really easy to continue once you're there.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about that.
Mm-hmm.
If you feel comfortable. If not, that's okay too.
Well, it depends on what it is.
I don't know. Just anything. Anything when it's really going rough and you actually need to acknowledge it and work it through.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so like when I quit chewing a couple years ago,
mm-hmm.
I had excruciating jaw pain for 6 months after I chewed. And it was really, really hard to not be a negative person in that 6 months. Like being in excruciating pain.
And withdrawal.
Yes.
Nobody wants to be around a smoker or a nicotine addict when they're in withdrawal. It's a bad time for everybody.
So what I ended up.
Nope, she froze.
Katie, you froze. Okay, Katie, we feel your presence. Somebody light a candle. Feel your presence. Oh, here we go. There we go.
Am I back?
Yes,
yep.
You are back.
Matrix, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Sorry. I was gone for 14 hours yesterday, so now they're all like panicky and thinking I'm like gonna leave forever again.
Yep.
What was I saying?
Chewing, nicotine fitting.
Oh, right. So I took 11 days off from work,
mm-hmm.
and I just stayed home.
Okay.
And that was a very long 11 days. But I knew that I wasn't going to be a very pleasant person. So it was easier to just isolate.
Okay.
That's an idea.
That's a pretty good idea. Dennis says, how do you eat if you don't chew? Anyway. No, okay.
Okay, so as far as other toxic people.
Mm-hmm. How do you handle it when somebody comes at you with that? Don't be so negative. Oh my God, everything's a lesson. Everything is happiness and rainbows and sunshine. And it's like.
So usually what I'll do is I'll let them say what they need to say because they're going to say it pretty much anyways.
Okay.
And then I try to either change the subject or talk about like my cats. Like I try to steer it in a direction of like, or be like, oh, do you have any pets? So like when you can get the subject on them that doesn't involve the negativity, then they love to talk about themselves.
So you deflect.
Yes.
Nice. Okay. Interesting.
I would tell them, go away before something bad happened to you.
Because no, absolutely, we should all try to see the silver lining, and we know everything's a lesson, but we all know that, you know. I remember I ran into a lady, and it was really interesting for me. It was very interesting because I think she was either 12 or 24 years older than me, but she was exactly a Taurus dog, and she was so into that toxic positivity, toxic spirituality. This was years ago, but she overheard me talking because I was at a show where I didn't make a lot of money, and I was just saying, yeah, no, I didn't really make a lot at this show, but it was okay. I'll be back, whatever. And she took it upon herself to walk into my space, into the conversation, and start spewing all this stuff. And I'm just like, okay, I don't know what that was about, And she was holding some events too, and she wanted me to be in the events, and I'm like, after that, I'm kind of turned off. I don't want to be anywhere near you because you feel kind of fanatical at this point. And I'm looking in your eyes, and there's nothing really human there. And you're kind of a fanatic, and now I'm scared. No. So, but I hadn't really had a heavy-duty experience with it in years. But then I was speaking to an old client of mine at the shop, and I did not realize how prevalent it still was.
Okay. Yeah, that's definitely.
And what are some good tips for people that run into this who are just starting down that path, the ones who really need the empathy, the ones who really need to actually sit with their spiritual growth and need those safe spaces? What are your all's advice to them?
My advice is to look for authentic healers because
Sheena just gets straight out there, just like, bam, bypass these people.
Yep, that's my time to true. Because I'm sorry, but you can't. Like I tell people when I come across those people, I tell them I was like, you can't experience the positive side until you've experienced the negative side, and it's just the flow of life, and that's how it works. And you may not physically, you may hide that part of yourself, but it's still there. You're just not seeing it, which then tells me that you're not a full healer within yourself.
Yeah.
Like when I started on this path, I got a lot of messages in my inbox where people were like, for someone who's supposed to be a healer, you're awful negative. I used to get tons of messages, and this is what people I didn't even know, and it would roll my eyes because you would think that would be more of a testament of healing to see someone go through an experience, figure out the experience, and then get through the other side, versus someone who just pretends like everything is rainbows and sunshine until the other side comes. That's just my take on it.
I think with a lot of people, they want to see somebody win so hard, it kind of destroys some sort of hope in them when they see somebody fall.
Yeah.
And they don't realize, don't worry, I may have fallen, but I'm getting back up.
Yeah, I sometimes all morning. Yeah, I get right back up by afternoon.
No, what is that? It's a Rocky quote from the movie Rocky, and he said it. He's like, it's something about either it's not how many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you get back up. Yeah. It's the getting back up. And I think that's something we've kind of lost sight of in today's times. With social media, which we're on, but with social media and everything is wonderful, everything is great, and everything is fake. And you don't see the tough times. You don't see the reality behind it. And you don't see people going, it sucks, but I'm not going to let this stop me.
Yeah. And that's exactly why I am the way I am, is because I want people to see the full spectrum. That is me. And
I like that about you, Sheena. You too, Katie, and you, Earl. I think everybody, and I think that's why this client just blindsided me so hard, because most of the people that I pull on the round table or that I deal with in the shop or the fairs or anything else, or even now the people that I've got helping me out writing the magazine, we're all incredibly grounded, and I don't don't deal with this aspect because I just don't entertain it. But, you know, they were an old client and whatever. We had an appointment. But it brought it home that it's still very alive and thriving in the spiritual community, which is it's kind of uncomfortable for me because of how out of balance it is, you know?
Do you think it has anything to do, like, I used to associate it with like people, I call them newer on the path. Like, do you think it's just a point of
No.
that way?
Some of the people that I've been dealing with lately are very elders on the path.
Ooh, yeah.
And I'm just looking at them going, balance! Well, and like I was bringing up a little bit before Katie came on, because this is the second part of the topic, that I should have known it was still there, but I didn't realize it because, again, I do not entertain it. And anybody who's around me who tries this kind of mentality I set them straight pretty quick. It's basically victim shaming when you have a very negative supernatural experience, a negative paranormal experience that, oh my God, well, you know, it happened to you, so you must be a bad person.
Now, are you talking about, when you say a negative paranormal experience, what do you
negative entity attacks, hex work, anything like that? Yes, it was huge. It was huge well, no, it's been huge for decades, but I thought we had kind of gotten past it. Apparently we haven't. But that, oh my God, everything is love and light. We don't see the dark. We don't see the dark. We can't see the dark. We don't want to know anything about the dark. And for me, I've always been a person, you kind of like Harry Potter. This is what Dennis used, and it really hit home for me. Have you all watched Harry Potter? Yes, no?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You remember the Defense Against the Dark Arts class that they all had to take?
Yep.
It wasn't because they were evil. It was because they had to know how to defend themselves. And for me, if you're going to be in the metaphysical area, heck, even if you're just going to live your life nowadays, you have to know about the dark because you have to recognize it. The dark is not going to come to you and be, I'm dark. It's going to be like, hi, I'm everything you want. You know?
And the thing is just because you're all love and light doesn't mean the dark doesn't exist. Just because you refuse to see it doesn't mean it doesn't. It's not there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But there are a lot of people who believe that as long as you don't talk about it, you don't know about it, and you don't acknowledge it, it's fine. It's kind of like if there was a huge mountain lion stalking you and you wrapped a blindfold around your head.
Yeah, exactly.
It makes you feel better, but it also makes you dinner. Okay, you know? But a lot of people still ascribe to that. And then the other part of that is the shaming that goes with talking about anything dark, any experiences. They actually start victim shaming. Well, it's obviously your fault that this bad thing happened to you. It's like, are you next going to tell me it was because of the way I was dressed? You know, I mean, come on. But I used to see this when my clients would come in. They're like, oh my God, it must be horrible. Oh, I know you're not horrible. Somebody just decided to be a twat. So you know what? Let's try and get you fixed up. You know,
people can send you negative. I mean, do they not? I mean, they're on social media. They should see the other side of it. People can just envy you and send you bad.
Yep.
By their envious intents. You know, the evil eye, for example.
Yeah.
So I mean, people can manifest poltergeist just by feeding into fears. So. I mean, as someone, I grew up in, you know, with the Appalachian background. So we have experiences with both.
Yeah. So
that, you know, comes in handy for me with that. But I just can't see how you can say someone is bad for having these experiences, when it's there, irregardless. It's just who is utilizing it at the moment, you know?
And I'm sure Earl has quite a bit to say on this here in a minute, but I'm going to interject one more thing. Oh, yeah, I saw that look. I'm going to interject one more thing. It's also, there's this aura of, well, you know what? You shouldn't talk about this. Shame on you for speaking about it, and you're contagious, so get away from me. They treat people like they're pariahs or like they have a disease when people need help. You know, instead of familiarizing themselves with both sides so they can truly be a help, truly be a healer, truly be a leader, whatever you want to call it. They only want to see the good. Now, I will tell you, you know, when I first started the New Age shop, it was all about astrology, herbs, crystals, you know, essential oils. That was my jam. But so many cases walked in having dark entity problems that I had to get real fast.
Yeah.
I had to get these people some help. And then I had my own experience and it was at a fair. They didn't word that fair properly, and a couple of vendors did not do their clearings properly. Yep. I put protection stuff around the booth and everything else, but it was Eden's guy, Chris, that told me, he's like, and I was really down on myself for it, but he told me, he's like, yeah, okay. You put protection stuff all around the booth. You handed the baby out of the booth, didn't you? I'm like, yeah, I handed it to Dennis. He's like, there you go. There was nothing wrong with your protection circle. You just handed the kid out so he could go walking. And it's one of those things. It's just something you don't think about when you're tired.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay. Earl, Sheena, Katie, thoughts on victim shaming for dark supernatural incidents?
I come from the OG witchcraft from the library era, and so we were all shamed back in the day if you were in studies back then. And I don't think I even mentioned like being spiritual until like to outsiders until like 2012, 2011 is when it started coming back around being more acceptable. But yeah, before that, it was like we were like in the closet because people would like damn us to hell.
Crazy. Weird. Well, no, my dad's been a UFO chaser forever. And I'm looking back over one of his old articles that I'm doing, and I'm watching how he wrote it. He wrote it very carefully so as not to get called crazy.
Yeah.
Even my dad, who's like, I mean, he lets his weird flag fly all the time, okay? But still, 10 years ago, even 10 years ago, not so accepted.
Yeah.
And with me, I've had to pretty much embrace both sides because I know that I have both sides within me.
Mm-hmm. And everybody does, I mean, that's the other thing.
Yeah, well, but in my case, I have to keep rein on the dark side because of the fact that if I let it out, basically it's going to take over for a good while. And then people start pointing out to me what I'm doing. I'm like, crap. Yeah. But the way I look at it is the fact that I have been compared so many times to, I've been compared to Hades himself, which I said, thank you. It's like, bring it on. That don't faze me none. Because I understand that, I understand the darkness that's coming from there. But then again, people also tell me that I can't be letting my dark side out because of what I'm doing professionally wise. I have to keep up with the light side and to keep things positive. Well, sometimes that's kind of hard to do,
especially when things are going rough. But at the same time, I mean, I think we've all had spiritual epiphanies, and that's why we are where we are.
Exactly. I don't think you truly heal until you get to know all of your shadow, all of your dark side, and understand that they are meant to work together. Because it's just like, I don't know if you guys ever went through the phase of where you don't respond to people who are attacking you or being negative to you, and then I learned through that
it doesn't work.
On, and you know, like I said, if you can't, we can't win playing fair all the time. Sometimes we still need to respond for our own protection, and that is completely fine. So,
and
honestly,
something else that I had learned about basically the tribe I come from, that I'm affiliated and related to, back in the day, they were not so nice of people, because they had, there's many times where they actually, some of them wound up relating, or excuse me, some of them were accused of cannibalism.
I can see that.
And I've had to accept that. I've had to realize that, okay, I may be related to that, but that's not how I am these days.
mm-hmm.
Wait, these days you ate people beforehand? Because if so, I have a whole list of people that you miss, sweetie.
Yeah, well, back
all right,
back in past lives.
I got a whole list of people you missed, and I tell you what, I'll help you clean the bones and sell them on eBay. Okay, Dennis, I thought I did a good job of not being a dick when I quit smoking. That was 20 years ago, so my memory may be a little off. I'm going to go get some donuts. They help me eat my feelings. There we are then. I'll explain that comment later. All this time I thought it was because I briefly traded Arthur to hold a Pomeranian. And this is why he never takes the kid anywhere. This is why. This is why, Dennis. Okay. Dennis, phrasing Earl. Dennis, if you were Hades, you wouldn't have the financial difficulties that you have. That is true.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, that's very true.
No, the phrase, there we are then. It's actually something I found out recently. Have you guys ever wanted to call somebody a nasty name without calling them a nasty name?
Oh, hell yes.
Yes.
Okay. The next time you're in a conversation and you want to call somebody a twat, just say, there we are then. There we are then. Twat. And every time they say something, well, there we are then. There we are then. That way, they don't. I don't think most people will catch it. They have to be really fast. It's like, oh, So yeah. But yes.
I was at my appointment of the day, and there was an older lady in there, and you could tell she was from the South somewhere because she had accents. And she was in the fusion center with the other ladies, and she did the whole Southern, well, bless your heart, sweetheart. But someone had messed with her syringes or something and brought them over, and she didn't like it. She was like, why did you do that? And she was like, I was just trying to be helpful. She was like, well, bless your heart, sweetheart. I was like, that was definitely not a blessing of her heart.
That's rough. That's rough.
So yeah, I thought that was quite funny on the young girl. She like, it just went over her head. I was like, that means don't touch my stuff again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the prim and proper term for fuck around, find out.
Yeah. Bless your heart. Oh God.
Yep. But I'm gonna use that phrase next time someone's talking to me. I might use it in my emails tomorrow.
Oh no. Oh. Dennis, FAFO. Fuck around and find out. Yep. Oh my God. Or feel free to test that hypothesis and then take very good note of the results. I like that one too. But no, Okay, so back to victim shaming on the supernatural level. Have you guys had it happen to you when something bad has happened to you? And if so, how would you have dealt with it in your shoes now versus back then? And what is your advice to people, especially new to the path, that have been put through the supernatural ringer? What is your advice when they come upon, I mean, I kind of think I know what Sheena's going to say, but when they come upon somebody who's doing this to them, who's like, oh my God, you're contagious, go away, you must have been a bad person. Thoughts?
Yeah, like I said, find somebody who doesn't think that way.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. All right.
Yeah, I've had experiences where I was shamed out of church. Like before I was on this path and I was searching, like churches are a big place to be shamed at.
Well, this is right out of the metaphysical community. It's supposed to be helping the people that this is happening to.
Yeah, see, I guess I've never been that close in the spiritual community, other than the people I see who are like toxic, and then I've just shied away from them 100%.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think like your group is like the first group I've actually seen that was like level and grounded, like all around.
Well, we've all had really rough experiences. And so we all know that, yeah, sometimes shitty stuff happens to perfectly good people. You know, I mean, that's just the way it is.
Which I think
you didn't get hit by that car because you were a bad person. You got hit by that car because the driver's a dick. Oh, it's just okay. It's but I have been so focused in the group I'm working with that I didn't realize this was still a thing even now today. And you know, I should have, but it just, yeah.
I think that kind of chops up to where a lot of people use that. Oh, that's your karma. You must have did something. That's your karma. Blah blah blah. And no, it's life. Because if you're so positive, and that's where I think that toxicity comes from. Because what happens when life happens to them isn't because they were a bad individual and they're positive all the time. You know, life is life at the end of the day. You know.
Maybe it happened to him so they'd stop being a dick. I don't know. Hold on just a second. Dennis, definitely a donut night. Dennis, sarcastically say to them, oh, I'm sorry, my bad day is inconvenient for you, dick. No. And I'm sorry, Dennis, that was a little insensitive about me using the car hit analogy. No, when Dennis got hit by the car, by the guy racing through a red light last January, he got a lot of really negative feedback from the spiritual community. I mean, because we were supposed to hold a fair at that time and we couldn't because he was in and out of the hospital. There was no way. We got some really nasty backlash for it.
Wow.
Yeah, well, you know, him being in the hospital was terribly inconvenient for so many of the people, you know. And he was a bad person. And I was a bad person. And the shop was bad. Yeah.
Really interesting.
I'll be just telling 2 words for you. Bite me.
Well, that's pretty much what we said. But, you know, didn't make them very happy and all that fun stuff.
I would say some of us come from less unfortunate events and some of us come from more frequent unfortunate events because you are meant to heal what you've gone through, and some of us have to literally go through the depths and come back up, and some, you know, not so far down, I guess.
Dennis, I'm a bad man.
We all know that.
Oh my God. But no, it's just in spiritual, metaphysical, paranormal communities, we are fucking around with areas that, I mean, yeah, you've got some guidebooks, but I've learned there are so many things that go off book. And I find that it's very close-minded to hold those kind of victim shaming beliefs, you know? And it also closes people out from getting help.
Yeah, and I would agree on that because, like I said, when I first started on the spiritual journey, I joined a lot of Facebook groups and then I unjoined them really fast because
Yep.
there's so much toxicity in the spiritual community, attacking people for asking questions, attacking people for all kinds of different things. And so my advice would be keep away until you find the people that you connect with.
But here's the thing. What if you really need help? I mean, I have people walking into my shop all the time, and it's worse when either Antoinette or I are there. Like literally, there was a time when if Antoinette and I showed up in the shop, within a half hour, we'd have cases walking through our door, and we're just like, I was just going to sell stuff today. I really just wanted to sell stuff today. That's it. That's all I wanted to do. We did not want to deal with this. But, you know, these people needed help, and they're walking through the doors, and we're like, my God. And when these people come in, they're already on their knees. I mean, they're almost out of a job a lot of times. They're on the edge of divorce. They're on the edge of giving up their kid because they don't know what to do, you know, and these are some horrifying circumstances.
Yeah. Tell them to call me because I come from the
Okay. Cool. Because it's just,
that's when they need a healer that's really going to stand up with an action plan. That's what I say. First, you have to hold space, and then, depending on what their need is, find solutions from there. And that's the way I handle it, piece by piece. Build the foundation from the ground back up. And sometimes you got to do that.
Yeah. Katie, what are your thoughts? You've been very, very quiet.
I'm really sore.
Okay.
Like if I move an inch, I want to make noises.
Oh, God. Hold on. Dennis, I know that my church doesn't do the victim shaming thing. My church actually offers up support and empathy and ways to perhaps solve the problem. That's good. That's good. Anyway. Go ahead, Katie. What are your experiences? I mean, have you had any experiences with dark entities or supernatural dark stuff, hexing, stuff like that? And what would you say to somebody that needed help with it, that's getting that, well, you must be a bad person, get away from me, you're contagious, and shame on you for talking about it? What advice would you give that person?
Well, the first thing I would definitely ask is what emotion has been going on loop.
Interesting. Okay. Tell me a little bit more about that question.
Well, so a lot of times it could be an earthbound spirit that's attached.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you acknowledge the emotion, then that can throw the earthbound off its game.
Nice.
And they can sometimes make things seem worse than they actually are.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's usually where I start. I start with emotion.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, she's really right, because a lot of the entities do feed off emotions when I see them attached to people.
I was going to say, whenever somebody comes in with an attachment, actually, oddly enough, yeah, you are right, Katie, because I do ask them, all right, what's coming up the most? That's what they're feeding on. Now you need to starve them out.
Yeah.
Starve them out, clean them off. And that I send them to Antoinette because that's above my pay grade, baby. I've cleared off a few entities, but man, she does it like it's breathing to her. For me, it takes a lot out of me. But for her, she's just like, okay, I can do this all day. Keep going, keep going. I wish you guys could see her work because she's amazing. She's just like, bam, 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 bam. I'm like, okay, you want a burger or something? Okay. Hold on just a second. Dennis. Katie, since you can't move, have your cats bring you a blanket and pillow so you can sleep where you are.
Of course, they pop up as soon as you say that.
Oh, Dennis, Alicia is my attachment. She feeds on my soul. No, I don't. His soul's kind of gamey. I can't eat it. It's like, nah, no. Tastes like mac and cheese. No, I'm teasing.
I'm also going to throw this out here just for the sake of defending entities as well.
Okay.
Most of the time, they're attracted to what they're familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not really trying to attach to cause harm. It's because that's what they knew the most when they were alive.
Right.
So stop it. So I mean, that kind of opens a whole new can of worms of like how lonely do you think entities really are?
Oh, definitely.
I think it
Which
depends
is,
on
oops,
the
sorry.
entity. There's so many different kinds that like I tell people if they could ever truly see what's really out there in the world, they would probably really understand. But there's so many different kinds of entities that can attach to people.
This is also why I run my house the way that I do, so that I'm familiar when I leave.
Yeah.
Do you remember how I told you I run my household?
Yes, I do. But for anybody who's just tuning in, please explain. You don't have to go into a lot of detail, but, explain what's going on.
So my house is kind of like a purgatory for entities, and they have an option to hang out or they have an option to leave. So when I'm home, I'm always doing light work. I'm always doing something light. I'm always doing something uplifting. And so usually that will give them the option as to whether they want to hang out or where they want to go. But they're trapped. That's the thing. They're trapped with me. And that's the way, and it works really well because my house is a fortress. It took a lot of work to get my house the way I wanted it to.
Yeah.
But then that way, when I have that fortress or you're stuck with me vibe, so then when I go out and do spiritual work, it's like a beam and a like a bat signal to let them know, hey, if you attach to me, you're coming home with me. And then we're going to work this shit out.
God, Katie. Jesus, girly. Okay.
That's interesting.
Yes. It's an interesting calling. It's not something I probably would have personally wanted to do, but it keeps me incredibly grounded because I know that when I wake up, there's going to be half a dozen spirits in my house. That's just how it's going to be. And so when I constantly am working with them, but also, and then I have different ways to communicate with them or have conversations with them. So then when I go out into the wild is actually what I say. When I go out into the wild, they just know. They all know. And this is also why I don't get attacked. Okay. Is because if you're going to attack my auric field, you can take a good punch, but you're going to be trapped. You're going to be stuck. And they know that. Mm-hmm. And it took about 8 years of doing this to create that frequency.
Yeah.
But I don't get attacked when I leave my house anymore.
Interesting.
It just doesn't happen.
Because we, like in my family, we like when the children are young, like we use like different herbs and stuff to protect the children if they're being like sighted is what we call it. But
explain that term, sighted.
It's where entities take notice of you for whatever reason.
Yes. Okay.
We call it sighted because we're trained. Like me, we'll notice, but we will not give them power. We're trained not to give them any kind of power because then they thrive off of that. And it's like a frequency and like kind of what you were talking about. It's a frequency and an energy that you build up to where you can't be penetrated. But when you're younger, we give the kids, like I would chew herbs when I went to sleep because I have a lot of, like I'm sensitive in my dreams when I was younger. And then when you leave the house, you have different herbs and stuff. So yeah, it's pretty interesting you talk about that because that's kind of what we're taught in my background is you kind of get to the level of where you're kind of like untouchable in your space.
Now, my next question
is dark entities. I believe dark entities tend to avoid me because of basically my two well, I don't call them deities, but because I have my Native American grandfather for one, And plus, I have regular chats with Odin himself.
Mm-hmm.
So the dark entities tend to avoid me because they know that they're going to get it from both sides.
Okay. Now, Katie, I'm going to ask you, what is your method to keep the entities from influencing you?
So I journal every day, and I track my personal emotions when I wake up.
Okay.
And then when I'm home, about every 45 minutes to an hour, I will go back to my journal and make sure that it's still in correlation with what I wrote. Honestly, having the sauna for the last month has also made a huge difference, because detoxing constantly, it's and having it in my home. I mean, I didn't think it was going to be that great, but it's been nice. And they don't want anything to do with the sauna. They don't want to come in. They don't want to hang out. That
doesn't surprise me.
They'll just, they'll creep on me and watch me in the sauna, which is creepy. But my cats also do that. I mean, also, I have worked probably longer with angels and archangels longer than I've worked with a few demons.
Okay.
And it takes a lot of communication. It takes a lot of faith and understanding, knowing that, this is why I work with Archangel Michael as much as I do, because I will use his sword every night to cut off any ties, if there's any. And then his shield is very, very, I use it more when I'm driving because of my anxiety and PTSD with driving. But, having that backup is also very nice.
Yes.
Which is also why I think I'm allowed to do what I do.
Okay. Now, I'm going to ask you something else. I forget, do you regularly talk with your spirit guides or no?
Yes.
Okay. When you see something overriding them, when you feel something overriding them, when their responses aren't right, what do you do to get them cleaned off?
Oh,
I've been really shocked. Working with spirit guides, I've realized they can be influenced. They can be collared by something else. It's been kind of crazy, but it's all been really good experiences for me to learn through.
So I can actually kind of determine that based on volume.
Volume? What do you mean?
How loud or how soft they choose to sound.
Really?
So when they're not as loud or confident and they're a little softer, that's when I will be like, can you repeat yourself? Or if that doesn't work, then I will be like, okay, well, I'll check back later.
Okay.
But I haven't had to do that a whole lot, because I do spend a majority of my time talking to angels.
Right.
And they are very
high vibe.
Loud.
Loud. I bet. Okay. Awesome. Now, if they do get overshadowed, influenced, however you want to put it, how do you clean them off?
How do I clean them off?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's really my job to do, but if that is a feeling, then I will give myself Reiki too.
Okay. Okay.
I think it's more of like, how clear is my channel?
Yep.
Okay. Because I have seen both with myself and with others, you can feel when something is in the way of that channel. When there's something else speaking. And whenever I feel that with my own guides, I ask them a list of questions that I absolutely know their responses to. And if even one of those comes back wrong, then I actually go to Antoinette and she starts scrubbing. It's like, oh, we got something here, we got something here, we got something here. I actually had a client whose spirit guide got collared by a particularly nasty entity. And Antoinette made me work with her to clear that one. That was interesting. That was a very uncomfortable experience because I was relatively new to dealing with the dark. So, yeah. Or the layman's end of the dark, the working end of the dark. Sheena, Earl, thoughts on that?
This is a subject I know a lot about just because I'm used to working on, that. But I don't have many experiences now with it myself, just because they just don't mess with me like they used to when I was younger. But like I'm still around paranormal, but kind of like you say, like I end up depoltergeisting some houses, like the one I currently live in now. The girl in the hole in the wall of the basement. When I got there, like people would say when like people were living on the porch because this house was so known for that. But I just kind of moved in and just made it my own. And now she enjoys my company, and she, gets a little loud with the lights every once in a while. But usually it's because she's not happy with something that's in her area in the basement. Like this last week, I had to go down there and clean up her area, and then she was, happier about it. But yeah.
No, I had my old apartment that I lived in. I used to call him Jeeves. He was in my closet. And weirdly enough, he was absolutely fine until I had a fight with my best friend at the time in front of the closet. I didn't even think anything of it. Boom! I guess I woke him up. But he would be so pissy until my other friend, Ashley, would come over and help me clean the place. And then he'd be happy for like weeks. It's kind of like, bring Black the blonde that cleans stuff. I don't want to deal with you. I would deal with her, Yeah. But he had a thing. I could have nothing to do with vampires in the apartment. I couldn't even watch the show Angel.
Oh.
Yeah. And I could not have anything by Anne Rice in there.
Oh.
Wow. That's
Otherwise, he would go insane and freak out. And I'm like, that's fine. We're good. You sure I can't watch Angel? Okay, Angel's okay, but not too much. Loved science fiction, though. I would literally put on like Star Trek or Stargate on the TV for him. He'd be happy.
Cool.
Well, and with me, I think it's just due to the fact that I have a clear understanding of the dynamic with... I'm just gonna flat out say it that especially with Katie dealing with Michael a lot, is that he's part of a family, and I understand that family dynamic.
Okay.
Because, well, basically, him and Lucifer are twin brothers. That's a known fact. And the fact that I call things as I see it. And when it comes to either a dark entity or somebody wanting to fuck around, I call them out on it.
Oh, damn.
And they don't like being called out.
True.
Now, Earl, do you get the problem with you being so protected, even Katie? Like, do you have the problem where the dark entities will like mess around with the other people around you to get to you, or
no? Ever since I've been working with Lilith, that has been a non-issue.
Really?
Wow, that's interesting.
I very much appreciate her protection.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah, because I still deal with that one where entities will attach through other people to try to get to me.
Hello. Whoop.
Katie,
you here?
Oh, am I gone again?
Yeah.
Am I back?
You're back.
a little left there, huh?
Just a little bit. Okay, and you were saying since you started working with Lilith, it doesn't happen.
No, it does not.
Okay.
Now, I will say that it took a lot of convincing for both parties to be okay with everything. But I did have to request them to be in the same room for a minute, and it did not go over very well.
No.
But me being the common denominator of that request, I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm really good at playing in the dark. I've always been really good at that. I mean, that's just stop, get down. Unless you're here to help, get down.
Now, just so everybody knows, I definitely do not endorse anyone working with Lilith simply because of her, I'll say, animosity toward children and her background with them. So she is definitely a no-go.
That's fair. That's totally fair. And you know, Lilith only came forward because of all of the abuse that I've encountered.
Yeah, and
that's the only reason that she even presented herself, and that's where the extra protection comes from now. Is like it's just I don't have fucking time. I don't have time to deal with abuse. I just don't have time anymore. Like so having that, you know, but also, you know, I really believe that how you choose to work with them also, like, is it, are you having good intentions or are you trying to do malicious acts? Because I do know people that do it on the more malicious end, and that's terrifying. Mm-hmm. And it's also kept record. So, I mean, you got to also remember that, like, they're jotting it all down, both sides. Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
They're keeping a very solid record. So that keeps me in check, especially how I choose to approach working with, especially Lilith.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'm going to ask you a weird question, Katie, and I've probably asked it before.
Okay.
Have you checked in with Hecate or Santa Muerte? Or Kali?
So Kali actually tried to work with me a few times when I was in massage school.
Okay.
I didn't really love how she approached me, but you know,
she's been on tough love, okay?
But you know, part of me wishes that I would have worked with her first, because I feel like a lot of abuse would have been avoided that way. I feel like if I would have worked with her a little bit more, but I chose to work with Jesus first.
Okay.
I think that was just how I was raised, and it was the easiest relationship to start with, and like it was the easiest. I mean, love's love, so I mean it's definitely the easiest. But I try not to work with too many at once, mm-hmm. because then there's too much chitter chatter. There's too many cooks in the kitchen, and I try to keep it. If I work with Lilith, I'm always working with Michael. I'm always invoking both at the same time. They don't love that, but they're gonna have to get over it. Like that's, you know. I've now stopped wearing. I used to wear a necklace with Lilith's symbol, and then I would wear Michael's shirt.
Okay.
That had to stop. Apparently, that was just not something that they were both probably not very. I mean, Lilith liked it because she got the metal part, the more solid part, the more like the heavier piece, I guess, if you want to say. So she felt good about that. But you have to also understand that the archangels don't love it.
No, obviously not. I get it, you know. But I asked about Hecate and Santa Muerte because I think it might be interesting if you got in touch with them.
So one of my friends, she works with Hecate mm-hmm. all the time. So when I hang out with her, I feel like I'm hanging out with her. And I feel like but I also know that. Stop. There's nothing there, bud.
Alicia, do you remember me telling you about the house over on the north end of Des Moines that I had spent time in, and basically is, well, my now ex.
You probably told me, but sweetie, I got like one brain cell working. Okay, it's keeping me alive. So just retell it.
Basically, the apartment that she was staying in. Come to find out, the place used to be a funeral home back in the mid 1900s.
Now, see, oddly enough, and this is going to sound really weird to you guys, there are a couple of funeral homes around Des Moines that if I have something on me and I want to get cleared off, I'll just pull into their parking lot. It's like tendrils come out and yank that stuff right off me. I'm like, woo! So I don't know what they're doing, but it's amazing. So normally you would think bad stigma about funeral homes, but dude, well,
it's no, because the fact that
awesome.
That because okay, I know darn well that there were a lot of dark entities in that house that were affecting some of the other people that were living there.
Well, yeah,
I've seen it, but they left me alone.
Really? Now, could you clear them, or did they just leave you alone?
They just plain left me alone.
Have you ever tried eating their energy?
It was plus is the fact that being woken up in the middle of the night, kids playing in the kitchen, laughing, and me telling them, "Okay, you two, bedtime. We will play tomorrow," and they stopped.
That is 100% a sheep move right there. That is 100% a sheep move.
They didn't mess with me.
Interesting. I like that.
And I think that's the reason why the dark entities tend to steer clear of me, because of the fact that, I know what's going on, and you're going to get called out.
See, now, my dad actually can take chunks out of them. They don't want anything to do with him. Kasumi can eat them. So they don't touch her, but she's a psychic vampire. I've seen a couple of people, and it's like the entities get drawn toward them almost like a moth to a flame. And then the entities start to disintegrate. And they just keep going. I saw this with a baby once, and I was like, oh my God, stay away. And these entities just kept coming to this baby. But they were disintegrating as they were coming in, and I'm like, oh my God, that's wow. So what are you guys' thoughts on that?
On the baby?
Well, yeah, on what happened there. These entities just kept coming like moth to a flame kind of trance thing. And whatever was either around this baby, I didn't see any guides working or angels, but it was just disintegrating these spirits as they were coming in.
Yeah, so that's what I call, like, that baby's going to end up being a beacon. And
it's a gauntlet. Like a gauntlet?
Eh?
Like a gauntlet?
No, not really.
No? Okay.
It's like their energy leads them to a veil. It's like it sucks them in, and then they dissipate. Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah.
And you call it a beacon?
Yeah, we call it a beacon, and where I come from, their spirits are drawn to them to transmutate to the other side, is what it is. Now, when that child grows up, it's going to have a lot of paranormal experiences. It's going to get to an age where it's actually going to be able to physically see them. And then the hope is eventually that child is going to be able to be, what was that show? Kind of like a person that leads spirits onto the other side.
Ghost Whisperer or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
When I was doing my Astro Soul training, when I was doing my Astro Soul training, I learned, sorry, so much cat food. I learned that when we were learning how to send them home, I guess is a good term. I learned that I was a gauntlet. And so what would happen was rather than them going through the communication process, they would just transmute through and up. And so for the whole training, I would never actually get to like communicate with them. And I couldn't understand like why. And then my teacher told me that when you become a gauntlet, they just filter through you, and it's just like this clear channel to send you home.
Yep, you're a conduit.
Yes, the spirit has to go through you.
It like filters through and then shoots out, and I don't even like. It feels like
you're a beacon.
These spirits didn't touch the baby though; they couldn't get close enough.
No, basically, the way that I take it is that somehow or another, the kid had a natural barrier.
Yep.
Okay.
It's like
that basically emanated the light to attract them, and then basically caused them to disintegrate.
Yep.
Okay.
That's how I take it.
And no, I've seen this kiddo is a little bit older now. They have some issues, developmental, but it's just their whole life is paranormal. Okay. I mean, they are like drenched in it. They swim in it, and they're perfectly at home in it. They're good.
And the kid had it from birth.
Yeah. Interesting. A beacon. That's interesting. So you got conduits and you got beacons. Beacons, pull them in, send them out.
Yeah.
Conduits actually have to pull them through.
Yep.
Hoof.
But I mean, that makes sense given as much Reiki as I've been attuned to.
Question, Katie. When you're doing your conduit thing, does it ever freak you out? Because I mean, spirits moving through me, I do not like it. I've had a couple do it. I don't like it.
It's now that I have a better understanding that it's not actually what triggers bipolar, and it's not actually what's triggering my PTSD, and then having all these doctors saying that that's what's happening, and then figuring out that that's not actually it, and realizing that's a totally separate ordeal. It does not freak me out, but also I'm a natural healer, so I think that having that natural ability, you don't have the panic that goes along with it.
Okay.
Yep.
Because no, I remember one client, her mother stepped into me, and I felt her mother's love for this girl and everything, and I called her by her old family name, and I was like, oh, okay, no, never do that again. Yuck. I felt so weird after a while. It took me a long time to get rebalanced. That was nasty. I was like, look, you're a perfectly nice person, but that does not mean I want you up in there, okay? Just, Have you guys ever had that happen where spirit just kind of goes, this is an emergency. I need to borrow your body. It's like, whoa. You haven't even bought me a drink first. And no, it's like.
I have not dealt with that, thankfully, but I think that would be a completely weird, like you said, weird experience.
I guess once during Astral Soul training, we went to like a different state, and we went to a guy's house to release spirits. And it was like my first time ever being really involved as the group. We couldn't actually do anything yet because we haven't had any training. So we just kind of like hung out. And so, but we're at this house, and I remember just like my feet going numb, and I couldn't quite figure out like what was happening. And then I found out later on that house used to be a brothel back in the day. So the ladies wanted me to understand what it felt like to wear heels. And so they wanted me to, so that's kind of where sometimes like I'll feel impacts of like other people's deaths, but I know that it better be a quick ordeal. Like
Dude, and that, I've spoken to a couple different psychic mediums, and I always said it was my dad's thing because I wanted nothing to do with it. Because I can actually feel the spirit. I can feel their emotions, their grief, their fear, their sorrow, you know, all of it. And I'm like, dude, because I'm psionically deaf. I don't hear. Very rarely will I hear anything. So it's all done by feeling and then visual. And no, thank you. I do not. I know. But my dad's really good at it, and so is this other male medium, because they can't feel anything. They can speak with them just fine, but they don't. They have that distance. For them, they're like, yeah, it's just a person. I don't feel anything from them or anything like that. We just chat, and then, you know, they go on. So it's been very interesting, you know. But I will tell you, on some of the experiences I've had, I had one, and it was pretty sad because I was pregnant at the time. I was severely pregnant, and a very young spirit who had passed away before they really got a chance to talk had come to me. I was showering, and they came to me, and they didn't understand. This little boy didn't understand why his mom and dad couldn't see him or hear him. And he was afraid, and, you know, and I'm like, baby, okay, hey, whoa, okay, so if this is really happening, I'm just going to say this, you know, don't worry, they don't understand, they can't see you, you know, and I took the spirit through a long conversation anyway, and by the end of it, the spirit was feeling a little bit better, but I did do a prayer that the kiddo would have somebody come and guide them to the other side. I couldn't do that for them, at least not at that point in time. The next day, the kid's grandfather died.
Oh.
No, I saw them. I saw them both. The grandfather passed so he could lead the kid over.
Oh, that's kind of beautiful and sad at the same time.
It's absolutely beautiful and wonderful, but really heartbreaking. And the worst part is I couldn't tell the family anything.
Yeah.
Because no, this is not their thing. Okay, it would have made things worse. Okay, and they're grieving, and I'm watching them, and I'm just like, what? You know, it's like, don't worry, man. Trust me. You know, the father was absolutely just destroyed. You know, because he'd lost his son and his dad like within days, or maybe within a week, and it was just like, dude, no, trust me. Your dad went to walk your kid across, you know, because that kid was stuck and terrified and confused, you know. So, I don't know. Have you guys ever had any experiences with walking younger ghosts across? Thoughts?
Yes. A lot of children.
Okay. How do you handle it?
Well, it's easier to do it around music. So they usually are attracted to piano music or singing bowl. What's happening over here? Fox, stop. That is you. Okay. It's not really sad. I don't know how to explain it. I think a lot of it also has to do with the fact that I probably will never have children. So, so I've been diagnosed with like 12 different mental health disorders.
Okay.
And that I don't want to pass that on. I wouldn't even want to risk it.
I get it. Yeah. 100%.
Which is a shame, I think, but
yeah, it's sad though. I mean, I think you'd be a pretty good mom.
Yeah, that's what everybody says.
You know? But
in January, I'm going to be a certified death doula.
I heard about that. So what is that? What does that do?
I don't know a whole lot about it. I've just known that I've been attracted to it for the last 6 months, watching other students get certified at my massage school, which I think is totally random that my massage school offers it, but they do.
Right.
I've actually interviewed a death doula.
What is their job? What is their purpose? I mean, I kind of think I know, but
so it's end of life care. So it's making sure that their paperwork's in order, to make sure that their affairs are in order, that they have what they need. And then usually you'll be there at their end of life.
Yep.
Wow.
That
That's
would be
actually pretty
hard.
awesome.
Which
Right. So that would be so incredibly hard for me to even imagine. But
It sounds heavy, but also like with all my astral soul work, I think the reason I'm going into it, and it, I'm not going to tell people because obviously that's just like opening a whole new door. But there's going to be a lot of grieving parents that lose their babies, and then that opens you wide open for attachments. And so I'm hoping that I can keep that very limited for the parents that are grieving. And then also help with anyone that's passing on. If they have attachments, I can send them home before they pass on.
Okay. Wow.
So I feel like this is definitely another way to do the spiritual work, but also be in the mundane.
Actually, yeah, this is for the people that can do it. It is amazing. That is nothing I could ever do. That would be, I just would not be able to do that, especially not with kids. But you know what? That's awesome for you. God damn, Katie, way to go.
Yeah. And I really think that just the amount of training that I do and how much energy I can absorb now and how much I can transmute and how fastly I can transmute energy. I think that's going to play a huge part. And knowing that, even if it's a heavy day, I can always go train and punch it out. You know what I mean? Like I'll have that healthy filter to channel out anything that chooses to stick around, I guess.
Yeah.
I love that you transmute through physical. I have to transmute through physical as well.
Yeah, movement is always a good thing. I have found that movement. Go for a walk in nature, walk along a stream, something like that. But movement, always movement. And then there's always an auditory component for me.
Yep.
On my YouTube channel for Pagan Artist Spotlight, I've got an interview with a death doula.
That's really cool.
That's awesome.
All right, Katie, once you get your certification, I'm going to need an article on combining death doula with metaphysical.
I think I might want to do it a few times first.
Definitely so. But no, I think that's a really good perspective, and that's a perfect fit for what you do. But man, that is a rough job, girl. That is a rough job.
Yeah, but there aren't a lot of people that do it, and I think there's going to be a lot of people that won't do it the way that I'll do it. I think that's having that unique approach to it.
Yeah,
is gonna make, and then also, I would imagine that the more I do it, the more I could train another death doula to do it that way. If that's what they choose to do.
That's actually what I was going to say. I was going to say you might actually want to start training people to do it this way once you get your certification, because I think this could bring a lot of help. I think this would be absolutely amazing.
Oh, and Katie, if you need input from someone who works as a death doula that's in the spiritual community, that would be Ron C. Reynolds.
Okay.
She's a good source of information.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm gonna calm down. Yeah, it's interesting that I think the last time I was this drawn to something, other than maybe singing bowls, but I mean, I've been incorporating singing bowls as long as I've been doing massage. I think the last time I was this drawn to something was when I went into massage school. So I think it's very interesting that you just like start as a healer and then you're ending at, you're still a healer. You're always going to be a healer. There's no retirement.
Yes.
But I know that I've been wanting to do less massage and something else just because it's very physically demanding. Now I say that with all the training that I do, now I'm like, okay, the martial arts and the massage is starting to get to me a little bit.
But I will tell you, you are amazing with your massage, Katie, and I don't say that lightly.
Thank you.
For those who don't know, I'm very picky about who does energy work on me, who touches me, chiropractor, massage, anything. I don't let a lot of people do it. I can count on one hand how many people I allow to do any sort of energy work or massage on me or chiropractor. And that's like combined. That's all those places combined. I can hold it up on one hand because I'm just very picky about it, and I just don't like mixing it up like that. But I will tell you, Katie, that's why it took me so long to ask you for any sort of massage, because I'm very standoffish. But I will tell you, I was amazed. You do good work. It's very, very soft. It's very gentle, but it's very effective. You are extremely effective without having to apply a lot of pressure energetically or physically. I was very amazed. You are definitely in the right area for yourself. You already knew that, but
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
I think one of my problems I have with massage therapists is I feel like they're digging into my bones.
God.
I like soft touch.
Yeah, and mine, I swear to God, there are days that she's out to kill me, I swear.
Now, I have an old acquaintance, and she prefers the extreme deep tissue. And when you tell her it hurts, she goes harder. She's a sweet girl, but well, okay. She's a Scorpio, so yeah. Anyway, no, Sheena and Earl both. You definitely need to go see Katie. Katie and my friend Christina Mosley. Those two I would highly recommend because they're not out to hurt you. They're out to help you. And that I will say, I'm really amazed. Katie's touch is gentle, it's soft, but it's effective. So Katie, I don't know what you're doing when you're doing stuff, but you are the gentlest I've seen a massage therapist be, but you're still very effective. And I did not know those two things could go hand in hand.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. But yeah, definitely go to her. Next time she's at the shop, come down, get her to fix you up.
Well, that's another thing with the whole death doula thing is because a lot of people can recognize the last touch. So you can do a lot of work just by like holding their neck.
Oh, wow.
And like just holding them while they go, I think is going to play a huge part.
Dear God. Okay. So the first time you get through that, let me know how it feels, because I don't think I could deal with that. I just don't.
I think it would be interesting to hear about it, but I think I would be too emotional to actually deal with it. But it'd be so interesting to hear about it.
I've had someone pass in front of me. It's an odd feeling.
Yeah. I think if we had more death doulas or more end of life care like that,
yeah,
grief would be such an easier thing in the world. It wouldn't have such a hold on everything. That's what I think.
I think you are spot on that, Sheena. Yeah, absolutely. So yes, Katie, start doing this. Train a bunch of other death doulas. Send them out to other states. Let's get it done, because yeah, I think this is going to be like the best help ever. Definitely not for everybody to do, though. Damn.
No.
All right, folks.
Great. I'm about ready to go put my little one to sleepy bye.
I'm about ready to go put an ice pack on my back.
I was gonna say, I heard the song. I could see you wiggling around. I figured you were getting sore.
Perpetual back pain, but I think it's the storms or something. It's making it just a little bit worse.
Some crazy lightning last night when I was coming back from Illinois and just getting into Iowa. It was intense. It was something else, and it was very gold, which I really love. Like, it was just very gold lightning. It was fun. I really enjoyed it.
And I love storms and I love rain and everything, but with some of the injuries, it's getting a little tougher.
Yeah, I mean, the light show last night was, that was something else.
Yes, it was.
Normally when when we got a light show going on, most times I will have to have I'll have to have a chat with Thor and said, all right, bring it down a notch. But yeah, last night was just, I didn't mind that.
It was beautiful, but yeah, just, ugh. Sheena, did you highlight your hair?
I have like secret highlights in the middle.
Oh, those are pretty. What color is that?
Well, it's supposed to be blonde, but of course, you know, I'm a hairstylist and I've colored it lots of times, and so it's like I call it copper.
I like it. I like it. Very pretty.
Mm-hmm.
I just hide it in there so there's not too much of it, but a little flash here and there.
I was going to say, have you ever thought about putting some red along with the copper?
I get on that once in a while, but I don't like to have to do the maintenance of it because I'm like a hairstylist, but I have time to do everybody but my own. You know how that goes.
Oh, hey, wait a minute. I don't know if I've asked you this, but do you cut like super curly hair? Have you worked with it?
Yep.
Okay.
Like super curly hair. I have. You can't tell when this is wet. It's
really
curly hair.
Okay, so but I'm talking almost African American texture.
Oh yeah.
Okay, and slightly thinning?
Yep.
Okay, my mom has that really, really textury hair, and she really needs to get her hair all trimmed up and everything. How much do you charge?
I just charge 20 flat for here is what I do.
Okay, and then how far away are you from Des Moines?
I think it's like an hour and 30.
Where are you at?
North English.
Okay. Simply because I kind of want to treat her. Everybody's been going through a rough time, but she's been really having it rough this past month or so. And I'd kind of like to treat her, you know, I want to take her over and kind of get her hair cut, but she has told me that in the past, she's had some really bad experiences with people who can't handle her hair.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because
it can get out of hand really quick. You got to watch, you know, how you're cutting the curls. There's a lot of things you got to take in consideration when it comes to curly hair.
Okay.
Versus just regular hair or non-coarse hair.
And to make matters worse, we have hard water. We've got to get it treated. But yeah, so all of our hair is like death. I know it's bad when I touch my kid's hair and it's all crunchy and stuff. And I'm like, okay, you know what? We got to do something about this. So.
Moisture.
Dude, I oil my hair twice a week and it still don't help. Okay, it's bad. But Des Moines water has been getting worse and worse and worse. And I think it's because of all the people moving in. So they're treating it more. And it's just like, oh my God, I can't drink it. It makes me nauseous. So
I was like just looking up random stuff about pollution in Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
I read so much that it scared me and I had to quit reading because I was like,
okay, keep in mind, I grew up in Flint, Michigan. Everybody knows how bad that water is. Okay. Yeah. I grew up in Flint, Michigan. And I'm still like, this water here is getting worse. Because, you know, I mean, you get out of the shower and it smells funny and your skin feels all weird. And
yes.
So, yeah.
Don't research it because it will scare you. It was Iowa will scare you.
Oddly enough, it doesn't matter how much I find out. I like researching because then I know what I can do to counter it. Because I always research what can I do to counter this, you know?
Exactly. But yeah, craziness.
Quick thing before we all head off. Give me a minute here. Let's see. Share screen. There it is. So, the first issue of Alicia's Desk Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror magazine is out as of a couple of days ago. It is out for print and digital, and we're working on getting it out auditorially.
That is so awesome. Congratulations. I know you've been working on this for a while. Congratulations.
Yes. So It is out, and we are thrilled. And then the next one is going to be the New Age mag. So, but yes, so it's out. First one's up, first one's out. I am so
Do you have that on the Facebook page?
Yes, I do. And that QR code leads you right to Amazon, right to the Amazon link. So.
Awesome.
You
I'll
can't
have to grab it.
Thank you. You can't do a subscription on it. That's going to have to be done through the shop personally. But you can get an issue and you can take a look at it and see all the hard work and the authors that poured their heart into it and everything like that.
Yeah, it looks wonderful.
Thank you. I'm so excited.
Applause.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Anyway, but then the next one is going to be Celestial Imprints magazine. So, yep. We've had some foibles, we've had some obstacles, trips and stumbles, but I'm really excited. And I think this is going to be absolutely awesome. I'm also working on end of year anthologies, both a fiction one, and then I'm trying to work on some sort of metaphysical anthology. So basically a multi-author project.
Heck yeah. That's awesome. I love it.
And for anybody who subscribes to the magazine, either one, they get, well, if they want to put their birthday down, they get one free ebook on their birthday.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
I'm this close to having my tarot journal out. I just want to put a couple flourishes on it because I found that a lot of the tarot decks they come without a book. And so I did a brief list of meanings, correspondences, stuff like that. And then I did some journal bits. So
that is awesome.
I'm excited. I'm so excited. Yay. All right, guys. Well, do you guys have any news you want to share?
Nothing to think of.
Earl?
Nope, just let's see. Yeah, well, basically, yeah, I am planning the first annual Midwest Podcasters Conference for up here in Waterloo for next year, for October.
Okay.
That's going to be mid-October. But other than that, I'm just preparing for this October.
Yes. Yes, you are. Also wanted to let everybody out there in social media land know I'm running a quick discount through the end of April just because we've got the retrogrades coming up. Any vendor who plugs in, who actually gets their paperwork and their booth fee into me before May starts, gets free electric and a free ad in the upcoming May newsletter about the event. So yeah, I'm excited.
Very cool.
We've got a triple retrograde coming that I'm going to be positive about it, but woof, it's going to get interesting. I tell you what, Saturn, Pluto, and Chiron.
When's that start?
Pluto starts in a couple weeks, I think. Sheena?
Yep, it's supposed to be. And I can't remember the exact dates, but all I know is by like June we're in the thick of it. Like they're getting thick.
I was gonna say Saturn and Chiron come in more June, July, but Pluto starts us off in May.
Yep.
So, and that's all the abuses of power come into light, shadow work. Then Chiron is the wounded healer. So all your wounds that you think you've gotten over, it's going to hit you in the face, or the ones you're hiding from. It's going to hit you in the face over and over and over and over and over until you deal with them. And then Saturn just makes everything ridiculously tough to get done. It'll all be worth it. But Saturn is basically going, if you want this, you're really going to work for it. And I'm just like, but what if I just want a nap?
Might be an option. I mean, we might have to nap the summer away.
Oh, dude, seriously. That's why I've been pushing to get everything organized as much as I can. I mean, I can't get it all organized, but I want as much done as humanly possible. That way, when it hits, I can be like, I'm just going to go nap for about a month, and I'll see you all later.
Yeah, it's crazy, but I've been preparing for it like it's war, like getting my house together, getting everything aligned. I'm making like a plan of what I want to get done, so I'm staying on track because I'm just like, it's like going to war with
Yeah, right. Well, no, I mean, I've got all of the magazines now. I've got them laid out so I can just paste in the artwork and the stories. I'm getting the events laid out. That's actually something I wanted to talk to Katie, Earl, Sheena. I want to talk to everybody about. I want to do a magazine launch event at the shop, but I also want to do, for every time the magazine comes out, I'd like to do a roundtable with all the authors so people can ask you questions.
Mm-hmm.
That's
cool.
interesting. Yeah.
I
That
would
way,
agree with that.
you guys can talk and just kind of chit chat back and forth with them, get new ideas, get feedback, but also they can ask you any questions that weren't in the articles.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Because I'm going to be doing, let's see, the spring issue that was delayed, and then the summer issue, the double feature spooky season issue, and then the winter issue.
Nice.
So that's 4 of them. I'm actually toying with the idea of doing 4, basically a magazine physical event as well as digital. That way people can come in and talk to you and just be like, hey, what you said in the article really hit me and I wanted to talk about it a little bit more, yada, yada, blah, blah.
Yeah, I like that.
Make it a little bit more
Personally, and
personal, connection-wise, just more that, So I'm probably going to do a double launch, though, for both magazines, just all the authors in together. Because everybody that writes for the sci-fi magazines into this stuff anyway. Seriously. They all are. There's so much crossover, it's not even funny. So, all right, folks, with that in mind, I'm going to go put ice on my back and take some ibuprofen.
good night.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Thank you for
Bye.
joining. Bye. And boop. All right, folks. Mwah. Loves to you all. Like, comment, subscribe, follow us on Spotify. And if you have a question or a comment, or if you have an area you would like me to talk about, or somebody you would like to be a guest on, let me know. Either in the comments or message me or get in touch with me on DesMoinesNewAge.com. All right, folks. Mwah. Bye-bye, butterflies. Stay awesome. And... oh, poor Katie. All right. Kick from studio. Kick guest. Okay. Anyway. All right. Loves to you all. Bye.